When we were growing up, she used to call me girlfriend. I would get upset, and she would giggle and apologize and say, "I'm sorry, Sandy, you're right. You're not my girlfriend, you're my best girlfriend." Well, that would make me feel a little better, but not much. I was the best friend of the prettiest girl in my grade. In our school. Maybe in the whole town. So many girls would have loved to have been Cindy Sheridan's best friend. There was only one problem: I was a boy. A boy who, ever since he could remember, had been secretly in love with his best friend. Even at my tender middle school age, I knew that there were multiple reasons why Cindy Sheridan liked to call me her girlfriend. One was, well, obvious. We spent a huge amount of time together, just the two of us, over each other's houses. We lived next door to each other, and gradually, over time, the nature of the things we did together shifted from gender-neutral to increasingly feminine. Partly because she had the stronger personality. Partly because I worshipped her and would do whatever she wanted. And partly because, well, I kind of enjoyed these girlish things. But I also knew there was another reason. I never knew if she was attracted to me or not, but I know she valued our friendship and was not willing to risk losing it over a relationship that might go south. By calling me her girlfriend, she was making a statement. Part of me knew that what she was really saying, in that one single word, girlfriend, was this: I love you, Sandy, but I don't think of you the way I think of, say, Johnny Mullen, the captain of the football team. I don't even really think of you as a boy. Of course, that was really hard for me to accept. It was emasculating. But, if I was going to be really honest with myself, I would have admitted that part of me loved it. I loved being Cindy Sheridan's best girlfriend, sharing fun things with her that no one else did. I just wished she had a little bit of a lesbian tendency. What do I mean by doing things that were increasingly feminine? Well, Cindy and I would often walk home from school together. There was a Walgreens on the way home, and we would often stop in. I would use some of my lunch money to buy some candy. But when we got to the 7th grade, Cindy had finally convinced her mother to let her start wearing a little age-appropriate makeup. Was her mother with her that very first day, when she got her first lip gloss and mascara? No. It was her best girlfriend, you know who. I had never seen her so excited. And of course, that excitement was infectious. When we walked into the brightly lit store, she grabbed me by the hand and tugged me over to the large cosmetics section, which had a huge assortment of both mascaras and lip glosses. And lots of poster-sized photos of gorgeous young models, all expertly if dramatically made up. She couldn't just make the purchase. No, this was a rite of passage, and she was going to enjoy every moment. She insisted on explaining the differences in the mascaras, waterproof versus non, black versus brown, lash building, etc., etc. Her choice, the classic for every teenaged girl, Maybelline Great Lash, in that iconic pink and green case. Off to lip glosses, where first I got an education in the difference between lipstick and lip gloss. Her mom had told her just lip gloss, but sophisticated Cindy wanted to use a matte pink lipstick as a base color, and then add a little sheer pink lip gloss over that. She chose Revlon's Super Lustrous Pearl lipstick in Gentlemen Prefer Pink. For the lip gloss, she chose Maybelline Baby Lips Moisturizing Lip Gloss in Tickled Pink. She made me promise that I wouldn't tell her mother about the lipstick, and of course I said my lips were sealed. And in a moment that I will literally remember for the rest of my life, she crossed a line, for the very first time, implying that these things were not just for her. You know, Sandy, she said quietly, you have the longest lashes for a boy. Longer than mine, for sure. I think when we get back to my house, we should put a little mascara on you too. And maybe some of my lip gloss. I was speechless. I was mortified, but also inexplicably aroused. I stuttered and said, "Boys don't wear mascara." She giggled and said, "I know that, silly." And then for the very first time, used the G word. "But you're really like my girlfriend, aren't you?" With my manhood being questioned, I responded with all the articulateness I could muster. In other words, I stood there, completely mute. She smiled, and then, in a gesture I'm sure she thought was a small compensation for just having emasculated me, she gave me a kiss on my cheek and said, "My best girlfriend." It felt like we spent hours, that first day, playing with Cindy's new swag. You would think there is a limit to what you can do with one mascara, a lipstick and a lip gloss, but we were newbies, and Cindy wanted to become an expert. The first hour was really spent on her, as she first tried the mascara on her upper lashes, then the lower lashes. Then multiple attempts with the lipstick and the lip gloss. But at some point, she had it down pretty good, and I have to say, she looked spectacular. As pretty as she was with no makeup, the mascara really made her eyes pop, and the lipstick and lip gloss made her young lips look pouty and sexy. Eventually, she turned to me, smiled, and said, "Okay. Your turn." I will admit that I let her have her way with me, first with her applying to my face, and then me trying it. I only asked one thing in return. "Cindy," I said, "you have to swear to me that you will never tell a soul about this." She smiled, hugged me, and said, "I promise." That night, alone in my bed, my normal masturbatory fantasies shifted from just thinking about Cindy and kissing her, to thinking about Cindy whispering to me, "You're really like my girlfriend." Then I pictured her applying that baby lips lip gloss to my lips, and I shuddered with release and embarrassment. Why was Cindy calling me her girlfriend, and putting makeup on me, such a turn-on? I didn't know, but it was. As most girls know, makeup is highly addicting, and it wasn't long before we expanded our repertoire. Next on our list was eyeliner, then blush. By this point, we had graduated from the drugstore and had Cindy's mom take us to the mall one weekend, where we spent the entire time at Sephora. If Cindy's mom thought it was a little weird that her daughter's partner in crime for buying makeup was a boy, she never let on. The great thing about Sephora is that they let you try the makeup on, and Cindy had a great time doing just that. She tried to get me to do it too, but I was too embarrassed, and also afraid that someone who we knew would walk in and see me, as Cindy stood there gently applying, say, NARS orgasm blush to my delicate cheekbones. Before I would leave Cindy's to go to my house, I would always go to her bathroom and thoroughly wash my face. I thought this was sufficient to keep my secret safe. But one day, I came home and Mother handed me a package of Neutrogena makeup remover pads. I acted like I didn't know why she handed them to me, but inside, I thought I was going to die. "Do you want me to show you how to use these?" she asked. I literally could not speak, and simply shook my head no. "Okay," she said, "if you need help, let me know. And honey, if you ever want to talk about anything, I am here. In the meantime, you need to be careful that your activities with Cindy stay in her house. The world is full of people who are not very understanding, and that is especially true of teenagers." I took the package of makeup remover pads and headed up to my bedroom. When I took them into my bathroom and tried one on my eyelashes, I was shocked to see that pad turn black. So much for washing my face. No wonder why Mother gave me the makeup pads. Our girl time wasn't just limited to makeup. Every time Cindy got some new acquisition bras, bikinis, leggings, halter tops, and eventually, heels, I was there to share it with her. And by share it with her, I mean, yes, trying on all of these lovely feminine items. Sometimes, there were unintended consequences. In the summer, when her mother was out, she would insist that I wear one of her bikinis, and we would sit outside, sunbathing and lounging by her pool. My teenaged brain didn't think about tan lines until it was too late. Yes, 2 cute little pale triangles over my boy boobs. I had to wear a t-shirt for like 2 weeks after that. Sooner or later, Mother caught me with my shirt off. She just shook her head a little and said, "Young man, you're playing with fire. I hope you know what you're doing." She softened the warning by once again offering to talk to me whenever I wanted. Heels were another tricky item, because by the time we were 14, my feet were bigger than hers. Cindy felt bad that I couldn't get into her very first pair of heels, a pair of cute cork-soled wedges from 9 West, but she remedied that problem by going to the store and buying me a pair, just like hers, 2 sizes up. When she gave me my gift, I protested. "Cin," I said, "what are you doing? You know I could never wear these out. Why did you spend all this money?" She hugged me and said, "Because you're my best friend. And I couldn't bear the thought of you not getting to experience the joy of wearing heels. You can leave them here. We'll wear our heels together in my house. And of course, in my backyard in our bikinis. We will look so hot." I couldn't bear to ruin her mood by telling her of my mother's warning about getting bikini tan lines. One day I came home from Cindy's, and Mother handed me a gift-wrapped box. She said, "This is for you and your girlfriend." Girlfriend. I wish, I thought. You can open it with her tomorrow. The next day, I stopped by my house before heading over to hers, and got the box. Inside was a big beautiful book called The Art of Makeup, and a large case called ELF eyeshadow palette with 32 different eyeshadows. I couldn't believe my mother was actually buying me makeup. Cindy and I spent weeks together, reading the book, and trying on different eyeshadow combinations. We both got really good at it. One afternoon, I came back to my house and Mother said, "Have you been enjoying your gift?" I blushed and said that I had. She said, "Tomorrow, why don't you come over here after you are done, but don't take your makeup off. I am dying to see what you look like. You can bring Cindy if you want." The only person who had ever seen me wearing makeup was Cindy. I was a little mortified by the whole conversation, but Mother seemed very supportive. The next day, Cindy and I debated what sort of look to go for. A subtle, age-appropriate, daytime look? Something a little more sophisticated? I voted for doing a little more, and we went with smoky eyes and pale lips. I realized that as long as I felt safe, I really loved putting on makeup, and I loved the way I looked. I tried not to think about the implications, the fact that I was beginning to lead what felt like a double life. Cindy and I took a lot of time and tried to do the best job we possibly could. We looked at each other, she hugged me and said, "You ready?" I nodded, and we walked out of her house and over to mine. We opened the door and Mother was waiting for us. She had taken the opportunity to do her makeup as well, and she looked spectacular. I guess she was not ready to be outdone by her teenaged son. She was expecting us, but still, she looked a little surprised. I have a feeling we had done a better job than she expected. She hugged me, and then Cindy, and said, "You girls look fabulous." It was the first time anyone other than Cindy had referred to me as a girl. And my mother, no less. As usual, I had mixed emotions. Part of me was flattered after all, she was saying how pretty I looked. And part of me was mortified my own mother was calling me a girl. After Mom finished complimenting us, she had a few minor suggestions and showed us some little tricks she had picked up over the years, mainly with applying eyeshadow, which was the trickiest part. Then she said, "Sandy, honey, let's just do a little shaping of your brows. It will make a big difference and really open your eyes up, just like Cindy's." I looked at her with some alarm and said, "But Mom, what will the kids in school think?" "Don't worry," she said. "No one will notice. They will think you look better, but they won't know why. And if a sophisticated girl like Cindy notices, they will just think it's great that you are taking care of your appearance." "Right, Cin?" Cindy enthusiastically agreed. I didn't stand a chance against these two. Mother was careful not to go overboard, but the little bit of thinning and the slight arch she created really changed my face. I definitely looked more feminine. At some point, Cindy's interest turned to boys. This was an interest I did not share with her, but being the good friend, I listened as she went on about her latest boy crush, whether it was a young movie actor or a boy from school. Finally, Jimmy Fitzgerald, tall, handsome and 2 years older, asked her out to a movie. To say I was jealous would be an understatement. But I held my tongue and tried not to pout too much. In a way, my stoicism was rewarded. The night before her date, Cindy confessed to me that she had never kissed anyone before, and she was very nervous. Of course, I had never kissed anyone either, so I couldn't exactly reassure her. Finally, she shyly said, maybe it would help if I practiced a little. I sat there looking at her dumbly, and said, "What do you mean?" She leaned over and gently kissed me on the lips. I thought I was going to pass out. It was the most exquisitely pleasurable moment of my young life. She smiled and said, "That was yummy." Then she giggled a little and said, "But I don't think Jimmy will be wearing lip gloss." I blushed a little. Finally I said, "I think you may need some more practice." That got her laughing. "Oh, you do you? Okay, one more kiss, because you have been such a good sport." And we kissed again, for what was probably 30 seconds, but felt like an hour. Right then and there I decided that I would marry Cindy Sheridan. Like lots of middle school friendships, high school changed things. Cindy never blew me off, or abandoned me, but we were on two very different social tracks. She had gotten only more beautiful, and of course, with all of the hours we spent practicing makeup application, she was far better at it than any girl in the high school, of course, so was I. She really knew how to enhance her natural beauty. She became a cheerleader, and was generally considered to be the most popular girl in the school. In 10th grade, she was dating seniors who had cars, and so our daily walks home slowly became a thing of the past. I, on the other hand, was not one of the cool kids. Not only was I not a jock, but I had a little bit of a physical issue. When other boys were well underway with puberty, mine seemed to have not even started. Mother took me to my pediatrician, who sent me to an endocrinologist, who discovered that I had an undescended testicle, which basically meant that my body was producing only half the normal amount of testosterone. To make matters worse, although males produce small amounts of the female hormones progesterone and estrogen, my body was producing a higher than normal level of estrogen. The doctor speculated that perhaps the lower testosterone level was fooling my body into thinking it was female, thereby encouraging it to produce more estrogen. The doctor said that he could give me injections to correct to imbalance, but he warned that giving me testosterone could actually cause my body to produce less on its own. In that case, I might have to continue taking shots for the rest of my life. I thought about it, and decided that I was actually okay with the way things were. Like Mother, I was also blonde-haired, fair-skinned and slight of stature. The resulting combination of these factors was that I maintained a very androgynous look all through high school. No big muscles, no facial hair. No deep voice. I really didn't mind looking this way, but it was not a look that shouted stud. I was never bullied, but I think most people just assumed I was gay. Senior year, prom time, and not surprisingly, I didn't have a date. As befits the head cheerleader, Cindy was going with the captain of the football team. But Cindy would be attending Syracuse University as a communication major, hoping to one day be a TV journalist, and her boyfriend was going to Penn State to play football, and I was going to Yale. Revenge of the nerds. Cindy came by my house a few days before the prom. She said, "I'm sad that you're not going to the prom, Sandy." I smiled and couldn't resist saying, "Well, the only girl I wanted to go with was taken." She smiled and hugged me and said, "Oh, Sandy, I love you. And I miss you. And I know you didn't always love it when I called you my best girlfriend, but that's what you were. I wish we could have those days back again." We sat there, both reminiscing about the old days, when she said, "I have an idea. How about if we spend the whole day of the prom together, with you helping me get ready?" I couldn't resist a little sarcasm, and said, "Kind of like your lady in waiting?" She smiled and said, "Well, yes, kind of like that. You'll come with me to the hair salon, and the nail salon, and help me with my dress and makeup. Come on, Sandy, you know we will have an awesome time. It will be just like the old days." I was still in love with Cindy, but not as passive as I used to be, and I said, "Yes, just like the old days. I help you get ready and you go off with your date, and I'm left home alone." I didn't mean to hurt her feelings, and the truth was, spending the day helping Cindy to look gorgeous sounded like a lot of fun, but I knew that when she left, I would feel terribly let down, and alone. Cindy got a little teary and said, "You're right, that was selfish of me. I'm sorry. I always knew you had romantic feelings for me. And you know, I really do love you, and wish I could reciprocate your feelings. But I can't fake that, Sandy. You'll always be my best friend, and I'll always love you." With that, she hugged me and I walked out the door. I tried not to think about Cindy, but of course I spent the whole night of the prom imagining her in the arms of her big strong date, and wishing it was me holding her. It would be years before I saw Cindy Sheridan again, but at 2 a.m. that morning, I got an email from her. Just for the record, it said, "You're a better kisser." Cold comfort indeed, but I couldn't help smiling when I read it. I had just gotten into bed, after another long day of trying to become the next tech entrepreneur with my small Silicon Valley startup, when my iPhone rang. Although it had been months since we had spoken, I recognized the number right away. "How's my favorite cheerleader?" I asked. "She's great," she replied. "And how's my best girlfriend?" I blushed at that. It had been a long time since Cindy had called me her girlfriend. But old best friends were entitled to certain privileges, so I didn't object. "She's good," I said softly. "I've been following your goings-on Facebook," I said. "Looks like things are good with Sean. I'm really happy for you, CYN. That means a lot to me, Sandy. Actually, I am calling because I have some news. And also, because I want to ask you for a favor." When she said she had some news, I got a queasy feeling in the pit of my stomach. I had long ago given up the hope of ending up with Cindy, but some dreams die hard. In spite of me telling her how happy I was for her, I was dreading hearing that she was getting married. And that was exactly what she told me. "You know, I think no one could ever be good enough for you, CYN, I said, but if you're marrying him, I'm sure he's an awesome guy. I'm really happy for you. So, what is this favor? Cindy must have decided that the best approach was the straightforward one, so she came right out with it. I want you to be one of my bridesmaids, she said. I said, so, you mean you want me to stand up for you, like a groomsman, but for the bride? I have heard of people doing that. Of course, I would be honored. No, she said. That's not what I mean. I mean, I want you to be a bridesmaid. Along with my 3 best friends from my college sorority. Look, Sandy, for most of my life, I called you my best girlfriend, and I meant it. I learned to apply makeup with you. I wore my first heels with you. Every step I took towards being a woman, I did with you. And, when you dressed up with me, and wore makeup, you were as pretty as any girl in the school. Remember, even your mother used to say so. So, I want that girl to be in my wedding party. And I want her wearing a dress, and getting her hair and makeup done with my other bridesmaids. And helping me to be a beautiful bride. I paused and said, CYN, you can't be serious. This isn't dress up in your bedroom, and I'm not in middle school anymore. I'm a grown man. You can't seriously expect me to wear a dress and makeup in front of a room full of people? Well, yes, that's exactly what I expect. And once you bite the bullet, I actually think you will have the time of your life. I think if you are honest with yourself, you will admit that you would love to get all glammed up, and wear heels and a pretty gown, and hang out with a bunch of gorgeous girls. What would the other bridesmaids think? I asked. I didn't exactly mean to word it that way, the other bridesmaids, as if I were already counting myself as one of them, but Cindy noticed, and she could feel herself starting to win. Oh, they know all about you. I spent 4 years telling these girls that my best girlfriend growing up was a boy. They'd probably be disappointed if you weren't a bridesmaid. I was silent, and Cindy pressed her advantage. Listen, it's going to be a destination wedding. It will just be our closest friends and relatives. It's going to be at the Ocean Club in the Bahamas. And to show my thanks for you doing this for me, and well, my thanks for what a great friend you have always been, I'm paying for your hotel and airfare. While I might one day get rich off of my startup, that day hadn't arrived. Getting a free trip to the Bahamas sounded pretty enticing. Cindy, I'm not saying it wouldn't be fun, but I'm afraid I would look ridiculous. Now that Cindy had gotten me to admit I would enjoy it, she pounced. Listen, I've been following you on Facebook too. For better or for worse, sweetie, you have the same peaches and cream complexion you did when we were 14. I think you would look not only completely passable, but I think you would be the prettiest bridesmaid there. In fact, my only worry is that you would be prettier than the bride. I was hesitating. It actually did sound like a lot of fun, a long weekend at a tropical paradise, hanging out with 4 beautiful girls, and then getting dressed and made up and being one of them for a whole day and night. But would people know I was a boy, and laugh at me? I didn't know what to do. Can I at least have a little time to think about it? Over the years, Cindy had often gotten her way with me, by, in a sense, dominating me, and she did the same thing now. Oh, I know what you're going to do as soon as you hang up the phone. Sissy is going to call Mommy, isn't she? Come on, Sandy, you're a big girl, can't you make your own decisions without going to Mommy? That was a low blow, made even more stinging by how accurate she was. Calling Mother was exactly what I had planned to do. Go ahead, Sissy, she continued. I've already spoken to your mother, and she loves the idea. Since you are mulling over your decision, I will tell you that the bachelorette party weekend in Vegas will be optional for you, but I expect you to be in girl mode the whole wedding weekend, and that includes wearing a dress to the rehearsal dinner. And if you will be spending any time poolside, I expect you to be in a bikini. She giggled and said, "Oh my God, remember that time when you wore my bikini and got tan lines on your little boy boobs? I thought your mother was going to kill us." I had to laugh at that memory, and it made me think of all the good times we had. Maybe I could do this. Mother picked up the phone on the first ring. "Hi, honey," she said. "Hello, Mother. So, I hear you've been chatting with Cindy Sheridan." Mother said, "Oh, honey, I think you should do it. First of all, she's your best and oldest friend, and she's asking you to. Second, you have to admit, there's a part of you that really wants to. Think of all those times you spent with Cindy, putting on makeup, and sharing her clothes. Oh, Sandy, you were so pretty. I often wondered if one day you would tell me that you were going to, switch teams. You know, this could be an opportunity to live a bit of a fantasy, a weekend as a beautiful girl. But it could also be something more. You might rediscover this part of you, and maybe even decide that you belong in dresses. Speaking of which, I understand that there is a rehearsal dinner the night before. I understand if you want to buy something special for the occasion, but I do have some darling dresses in my closet that would look spectacular on you. I guess I've never told you, but I always kind of secretly hoped that one day I could share my wardrobe with you. Not to mention my jewelry. Oh, Sandy, I have some really fabulous pieces that you could wear to the wedding." Mother's enthusiasm was contagious, and I felt myself beginning to waver. "Oh, Mom, do you really think I could pull it off?" Mother replied, "I have no doubt, but I'll tell you what. Before you give Cindy her answer, let's do a dry run. Come on up to San Francisco and stay with me for the weekend. We'll do the works mani-pedi, hair, makeup. We'll pick out a fabulous outfit for you to wear from my wardrobe. If you don't look totally convincing, I promise I will let you know. Okay?" Well, it couldn't hurt to spend a weekend playing dress up with Mother. "Okay," I said, "I'll see you this weekend." But for the small detail that I'm a boy, it was a perfect mother-daughter weekend. On Saturday, we had mani-pedis with French manicure for me, something I hoped would be a bit more subtle than painting my nails, say, fire engine red. We then had lunch at Saks, and proceeded to get massages, facials and full makeovers at the Red Door Salon. Back at Mother's apartment on Nob Hill, she told me to take a hot bath and to shave what little hair I had on my legs. "Razor and shaving cream are on the tub," she said. When I got out, I put on the fluffy pink robe she had hanging on the bathroom door. In her bedroom, she handed me a box from Nordstrom's, which had a beautiful matching Natori bra and panties, a pair of sheer black pantyhose, and a couple of gel inserts. "You can keep all of that," she said. "You'll need it for the rehearsal dinner and wedding." So much for waiting to see how convincing I look, I thought. Mother breezed through her giant walk-in closet and selected an adorable and flattering little strapless navy dress with white polka dots by Valentino, with a pair of killer Jimmy Choo heels. "This would be perfect for the rehearsal dinner," Mother said. "And I've got some fabulous jewelry for you. Some great diamond bangles, and a diamonds by the yard necklace. Honey, we really should talk about getting your ears pierced. I have a pair of quiet diamond earrings that would make you the envy of every girl at the wedding." Finally I was done, and Mother said, "Honey, I have to say, I think we've outdone ourselves. I'm not sure if Cindy plans on telling people that you are a boy or not, but I can tell you that unless she tells people, not a soul would know." She snapped a photo with her phone and showed me. I had to admit, I looked better than I had hoped. "Well?" she said, "should we send to Cindy and let her know that it's a go?" I nodded. Mother sent me the photo, and then I transmitted it to Cindy via text. "How do I look?" I coyly asked. Cindy responded right away. "OMG. I told you, you are not allowed to look prettier than me." "I am so excited, Sandy." "I love you." "Love you too," I responded. And couldn't help thinking to myself, more than you'll ever know. I wasn't sure how I had gotten talked into this, but something that a week earlier I would have said had a 0 chance of happening, I had just agreed to. I was going to be a bridesmaid. I couldn't help my curiosity, and I looked online. Were there really male bridesmaids, or was it a sissy urban legend? It was hard to separate fact from fantasy on the internet. I decided to only believe stories with photos. And in truth, although it seemed to be a very common fantasy of cross-dressers, there weren't many that looked genuine, although there were a few darling photos of men in wedding dresses. Like it or not, it looked like I would be in the vanguard of our rapidly changing standards regarding gender. A couple of days after I sent the photo to Cindy, I got a Facebook invitation to join a private account. It was sent by Sarah, Cindy's best friend from college. It said, "Dear Sandy, the girls of Kappa Kappa Gamma, also known as Cindy's bridesmaids, cordially invite you to become an honorary member of our society and join the bridesmaids. We have heard so much about you over the years and are so excited that you will be a fellow bridesmaid. Looking forward to planning Cindy's big day with you, love, Sarah. P.S. I saw your photo. I hope you don't take it the wrong way, but I am not too happy that you are way prettier than I am. XOXOXO. I had 6 months till the wedding, and Mother encouraged me to use that time to grow my hair out. She promised to take me to her stylist right before the wedding and to lose a few pounds. Well, in for a penny, I thought. Might as well look as good as I can. Cindy and I spent lots of time exchanging photos of bridesmaid dresses online, and we finally landed on one. The other girls were on the East Coast, and I was on the West, so Mother would take me for fittings. I have to say, it was fun to see how excited she was. As she told me, these were things she thought she would never get to do with her daughter, and this was all like a special gift to her. That would have been a reason in itself to go through with this. I was really on the fence about going to the bachelorette party. On the one hand, I really wanted to get to know the other bridesmaids and spend some time bonding with them. And of course, I missed Cindy and really wanted to see her. Plus, Las Vegas was not so far from me, a short flight. But if I went, I would have to go en femme, and it was one thing to pull off being in girl mode for a dinner and a wedding, and another to do it for a whole weekend. A weekend which I assumed would get pretty wild. Drinks? Male strippers? Time at the pool? Oi. At the end of the day, I decided to skip it, because if I went, and things did not work out so well, I would not want to go to the wedding, and I knew that was most important to Cindy. As the date of the wedding drew closer, I found myself getting more nervous about the whole thing, and also spending more time up in San Francisco with Mother. She was a calming influence, and good for my confidence. Plus, she loved having her part-time daughter around, as she helped me to get ready. With my hair a bit longer, my brows shaped, and me finally having given in to Mother pleading with me to get my ears pierced, I definitely looked very androgynous. I think people would have had a hard time guessing whether I was a girl or a boy. But when I shopped with her for things I would need for the weekend, Mother seemed to enjoy telling people that her son was going to be a bridesmaid. I think she had fun shocking them a little. It embarrassed me, but I thought, well, if I can't handle that, I have no business going through with this. The wedding was going to be on Saturday night. The rehearsal dinner was going to be Friday night. I was going to fly out to Paradise Island on Thursday. Cindy promised me a quiet dinner on Thursday night with just the two of us, which I thought was really nice of her, and which I was really looking forward to. Wednesday after work, I drove up to Mother, and she took me to get my hair and nails done. I had extensions put on my nails and my hair. I couldn't believe how long and feminine my hands looked. I had to admit I really loved it. For my hair, Mom really went to town, not only cut but beautifully highlighted. And the extensions really looked like my hair. I wasn't sure what would happen after the weekend. It was really beautiful, and I'm sure it cost a ton, and would have been a waste to just get rid of it, but on the other hand, it was very feminine. When the Uber car pulled up to Mom's apartment on Thursday morning, I was nervous as a cat. Mother lent me her Louis Vuitton luggage, and I strolled down to the car wearing wedges, white capris, a blue and white knit striped top with a scooped neck and 3/4 length sleeves, and to give me a little bit of glamour, Mother's Chanel sunglasses and her Hermes scarf tied around my head. I felt a little like a movie star from the 50s. I checked into my room at the Ocean Club, and a short while later, there was a knock on my door. Sarah had stopped by to greet me, which I thought was so sweet. I freshened up my makeup, just like Mother had showed me, stayed in the outfit I had traveled in, and headed down to the bar to meet Cindy. She almost fell over when she saw me. She hugged me and then kissed me, and said, "Oh my God, Sandy, when I asked you to be my bridesmaid, I will confess, I never thought you would look this beautiful. I just assumed everyone would know you were a boy and it would be a fun thing. But, you're gorgeous. I can't wait to see what you look like in your bridesmaid's dress." I thanked her and said, "And I can't wait to see what you will look like in your wedding gown." She giggled and said, "Are you jealous?" I said, "Well, I'm jealous because yes, I would love to be in a wedding gown. But the person I'm really jealous of is Sean. Because sorry CYN, I always have been and always will be in love with you. It's a burden you will have to bear." We sat at the bar and had lots of mojitos. By the time I walked her to her door, we were both pretty drunk. She hesitated for a moment and then we kissed, a long, passionate kiss, which made me love her even more. I looked into her eyes and saw that she was crying. "Don't think I haven't thought about walking down the aisle with you," she said. "But here we are." "Yes," I said, "here we are." Friday morning, I was finally going to get to meet the other girls. We were all meeting for breakfast and then heading out to the pool. Even though Cindy had said she wanted me in a bikini, I really felt exposed wearing one. Mother and I had found a darling one-piece with a strategically placed ruffle, and I put that on. I wore it, with a cute shift over it, and headed down to breakfast. In spite of how great Cindy told me I looked the night before, I was very nervous. But my fears were misplaced. The girls couldn't have been nicer. They really treated me like one of them. I spent most of the day with them lying by the pool. I was wearing a girl's bathing suit, right there in public, but with my floppy hat and oversized Chanel sunglasses, I somehow felt protection from prying eyes. I headed back to my room to get ready for the rehearsal dinner. When I got undressed, I noticed that once again, I had tan lines over my non-existent boobs. I couldn't help smiling at the memory of that happening to me with Cindy, so many years ago. It would be my first time meeting Sean, and once again, I was pretty nervous. It's one thing to meet a bunch of girls dressed en femme, they are usually pretty sympathetic, but a guy is a whole different deal. I hoped he was not going to be some macho jerk who would snicker and act all condescending. I really took my time getting ready. I wanted to look fabulous. Cindy's mom had actually flown down a makeup artist to do the wedding makeup for the bride, mother of the bride and bridesmaids, but for tonight, I was on my own. I went with my favorite look: pale lips and smoky eyes. I walked into the restaurant and looked for the other girls, but was intercepted by Sean, who was with another guy. Whether it was because Cindy told him to or not, I can't say, but he could not have been sweeter. He gave me a hug and a kiss on the cheek, seeming totally unself-conscious about touching a boy that was dressed as a girl. He told me how important I was to Cindy, and how much me being a bridesmaid meant to her, and how happy he was to finally meet me. Then, he introduced me to William, his younger brother. William was just as handsome as Sean, but in a softer way. He said, "William will be escorting you down the aisle." I am not necessarily a big believer in gaydar, especially since I myself am not gay, but I could tell right away that William was. No words needed to be spoken, but I felt a little bit of a relief. If nothing else, I had a dancing partner for the evening. The most surprising thing about the dinner was how weirdly comfortable I felt. Makeup, heels, a cute short dress, and because Mother finally got her way, her dangly quiet diamond earrings, and none of it felt strange to me. The only conversation with the girls that got at all awkward was when they were dishing about the guys. I guess they just assumed that the boy in a dress, me, was gay, and had the same interests they did. They kept telling me how cute William was. Of course, this was the one area where my interests diverged. If anything, putting aside my unrequited love for Cindy, I had definitely developed a crush on Sarah. I did notice a joke or two from the other girls about how Sarah's odds of finding the right person were double everyone else's. Sounded like she did a little experimenting in college. I wondered if I had a chance with her. The day of the wedding was, well, just like every sissy's fantasy of what being a bridesmaid would be like. The girls, and me, spent the whole afternoon in a suite together with the hair and makeup artist, getting ready for the photos. I felt completely at home. We all put our dresses, heels, and jewelry on and then headed out to the beach for photos. The setting was magnificent, and Cindy was an absolutely stunning bride. The ceremony was lovely, and I felt just amazingly pretty and feminine walking down the aisle, escorted by William. Standing up at the front with the other bridesmaids, I had an epiphany. Even though I had not been dressing like a girl, and had only done this because Cindy implored me to, I realized that this was the real me. I love being a pretty, feminine girl. I loved wearing makeup, and heels, and perfume, and earrings, and yes, a bra with little chicken cutlets that made me feel like I had small breasts of my own. I loved walking down the aisle, putting one high-heeled foot directly in front of the other, like a runway model, my rounded behind, with a little help from my Spanx, clinging to my gown, swaying and catching the attention of every man in the audience. Had Cindy known this all along? Had she insisted that I go through with this because it was the only way for me to discover my true self? If so, it was a ploy that worked. It was hard for me to imagine leaving the aptly named Paradise Island and heading back to California to be my old drab boy self. The good news was, I knew Mother would be totally supportive. I could tell that she actually loved having her daughter around more than her son. I might not be ending up with the love of my life, but I owed her a debt of gratitude for helping me to discover who I really was. I couldn't wait to ask her whether she thought her friend Sarah might be interested in me.